What's up, Falcons Nation? It's your boy Jew coming at you with another Atlanta Falcons video. As always, Falcon Nation, rise up. It is Monday, and I want to go ahead and do a post-game show for yesterday's game against the Arizona Cardinals. I was very disappointed and sad about the loss yesterday. It's a couple things I want to hop in this video. Some things I was encouraged about, some things I was disappointed about. We do now sit at 1-5. And our playoff hopes are looking really slim about now. We haven't played any division games, as I've said in our previous videos, but I want to go ahead and just break down a couple things in this video. I'm gonna hop right into it. As I said yesterday, we did fall to the Arizona Cardinals, 34-33. We did lose by 1 point. I guess I better start off where the game ended. Matt Bryant, who is usually money, we call him Money Matt. He usually never misses extra points or hardly ever misses field goal attempts. He did miss an extra point, which turned out to be cost us the game. I don't want to put it on one player because, as they say, it's always more than one play that where you could win or lose a game. So it's not all Matt Bryant's fault in this case for missing that extra point, because usually 98 points or 99.1 or 99.9% of the times he hits that extra point. So I don't want to put the whole loss on him. But one thing that I want to address, because I addressed this in the preseason when everybody from the Atlanta Falcons fan base was screaming as we had Giorgio Tavecchio kicking in the preseason that we needed to bring back Matt Bryant. This was one of the reasons that I didn't want to bring back Matt Bryant. Not because he was going to miss a field goal and cost us a game, because I didn't believe that. But my whole thing was, it was time. I didn't have a problem with the organization moving on from Matt Bryant, just for the mere fact that he's getting up there in age. I believe he's like 40-something. So as you get older, Father Time is undefeated. Believe it or not, even greats slow down. I'm not saying that he's slowing down and he's losing it, but the Matt Bryant of old, the younger Matt Bryant, the Matt Bryant in his prime, probably wouldn't have missed that kick, y'all. And I really believe that him missing that kick was all mental. As much as we want to say physical, I don't think his leg or his hip or anything gave out on that extra point. I feel like it was all mental, because it was times where they kept saying in the telecast that our punter was out and he's normally the holder for his kicks, and Matt Schaub was actually holding for the kicks all game. And I believe that for whatever reason, Matt Bryant got in his own head. His rhythm was thrown off, or he was a little bit nervous that maybe the hold wasn't going to be correct by Matt Schaub, even though the hold was great. And Matt Schaub did a great job of being a holder on our kicks yesterday. But for whatever reason, Matt Bryant, it was all mental in his head. So, you know, they always talk about football is just not a physical sport, but it's a mental sport. And that was my whole thing about never put your eggs in one basket. Everybody was screaming, bring back Matt Bryant, bring back Matt Bryant. He never misses this and this and that. But this just proves that Matt Bryant is human, just like anybody else, just like Giorgio Tavecchio, just like any young kicker that we try to bring in and groom and get ready to become a kicker. Because believe it or not, Atlanta Falcons fans, Matt Bryant is not going to play forever. So this is probably Matt Bryant's last year kicking for us. And right now, sitting at 1-5, Matt Bryant's really probably thinking in his head, like, why did I even come back to be a part of this team? Because Matt Bryant, I'm pretty sure the reason he came back is because he wanted a chance, another shot at the Super Bowl. So the season's not over. It's not all doom and gloom. I do have some silver lining in this video. So don't cut the video off already. Don't cut me short. But, you know, do what you feel is right. It's a couple things I want to talk about in this video. Other than the Matt Bryant thing, he did, like I said, he did miss that field goal, and it ended up costing us the game. I still love Matt Bryant. I think he's the best kicker, or one of the best kickers ever to play the game. So I don't want to slander this man's name or say that we shouldn't have brought him back, because this is the type of stuff he does. Because right now, we're just finding different ways to lose games at this point. I mean, this stuff that's happening to the Atlanta Falcons, we can't make this stuff up, y'all. Like if anyone would have told me to bet money that Matt Bryant would miss a extra point field goal, then that would be the reason that we lost this game. I would have put my money to bet on Matt Bryant to make that extra point. So moving on, because I don't want to continue to pile on. Couple things that I seen in this game that I liked. We did make some adjustments with Dan Quinn's defense. Again, we did start off slow, and that was one of the things I said was a no-no. We have to stop starting off these games so slow. The first half, the defense played terrible, to be honest. But in the second half, I like some of the adjustments that Dan Quinn made. And if you watched my last video, I talked about making adjustments, because as much as we might be mad at Dan Quinn and feels like he hasn't made changes, I did see some changes in that second half that I liked, and I do believe that our defense will improve as the season goes on. Even if Dan Quinn keeps his job, I do believe that this defense will get better. If you notice in the second half, we started playing start playing in man coverage and stop playing all of that soft zone coverage. And what ended up happening is it affected the Cardinals receivers. If you notice, they started to drop passes. The windows for Kyler Murray to throw through were more difficult, where it wasn't as easy. When you're in that soft zone and you're keeping everything in front of you, those 5 and 6 and 7 yard passes and 10-yard passes, 9-yard passes are easy to make, because our defenders and our cornerbacks and DBs are playing so far off that you could just simply throw a quick smoke screen out to the flat, snap the ball, throw it out to the flat, and that's at least a 4 to 5 yard gain. Even if the DB makes the tackle, the first initial contact tackle. So I like what I seen out of Dan Quinn in that second half out of our defense. If you noticed, in order for us to be able to get back in that game, we needed some 3-and-outs, some stops, because we were down 17 points at one point in the second half. I believe the score was like 10-27 at one point. And from that point on, the Atlanta Falcons caught fire. And it started with the defense getting some stops, because our offense in the second half was clicking as well. But I believe it was 2 back-to-back 3-and-outs by the Arizona Cardinals. And I believe what threw them off a rhythm is what I talked about in my previous videos. Isaiah Oliver and Kendall Sheffield got up in those wide receivers' faces, started to bump them at the line, started to play press man coverage, started to give our front four a little bit more time to get the pass rush going, to put pressure on Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray had to start scrambling around in the backfield, trying to make stuff happen, which he was able to scramble around. He wasn't sacked any last game, this game, but he still had to move from his spot. He wasn't able just to sit back and dissect us, because in the first half we played all of that soft zone again. We played 5 and 6 and 7 yards off the ball with our DBs and our linebackers. It was literally one play in the game where we were literally like 30. Our linebackers were literally like 30 to 40 yards away from them. They threw a quick out screen. It wasn't even a screen pass. It was just a quick swing pass out to David Johnson, and it was literally nobody within like 30 yards of him. And the people on the telecast, the announcer said it, like, it's nobody within 20 to 30 yards of David Johnson. It should have only been a 5 to 6 yard gain. It ended up being like a 25-yard gain or 30-yard gain, because it was nobody in the flats. All of our linebackers ran like Deion Jones and Devondre Campbell, all spread out in that zone, and they dropped back like 20 to 30 yards off the ball for whatever reason, and left our front four, who was all blitzing. So it was literally nobody covering the running back. But in the second half, the team, Dan Quinn decided to run more man coverage. We started to slow down that Arizona aerial attack. We slowed down that offense by playing that press man coverage. Now, one thing that I was very encouraged about in this game, and one thing that I noticed, and it must be a change that Dan Quinn will need to make, when when Desmond Trufant comes back from injury, and hopefully it's this next game against the Rams, because we're really going to need them, because the Rams run a lot of three wide receiver sets with Cooper Kupp and those guys. They like to run Brandon Cooks. They like to run a lot of and Robert Woods. They like to run a lot of 3 wide receiver set and a running back and tight end. They like to run a lot of those sets. So we definitely going to have to be ready to stop the pass in this game. So we're going to need to run more man coverage. You can mix it up and disguise zone if you would like in certain plays, but we're going to have to stick with this man coverage. And one thing that I really liked, and what I was going to say prior to me going into my little rant, when Desmond Trufant comes back in this next game, hopefully against the Rams, we need to take Isaiah Oliver out of the starting lineup. Kendall Sheffield showed me enough this last game that he deserves the starting role. Point blank and period. And Dan Quinn needs to make this change. I don't care that he drafted Isaiah Oliver. I don't care that he likes tall and lanky corners. It's time to make changes. Devondre Campbell, it's time to put... I seen Afoye Aluakon get a lot of snaps in this game. So I was proud of saying he did make some adjustments. But it's time for, in passing situations, it's time for Jermaine Grace to start getting some of those snaps. Or put in another DB. We need to go ahead and take Devondre Campbell out of the game in passing situations, because Devondre Campbell and Isaiah Oliver are being targeted every single game. Every team is targeting them. They're going after them every single game. This is the second or third game in a row where, and they also are going after Kamal Ishmael. He's another one that they're going at. They're targeting those three players. They're not throwing the ball towards Deion Jones. They're not throwing the ball towards Desmond Trufant. The only game that they went after Desmond Trufant was in the Titans game, where Brown cooked them a couple times. And Deshaun Watson, he was going at everybody. Will Fuller was getting off on us, but he was going at everybody. But other than that, in these other games, everybody is targeting Isaiah Oliver, Devondre Campbell, and Kamal Ishmael. So it's time for us to make this adjustment, Dan Quinn. Kamal Ishmael didn't look too bad in this game, but I hope that we decide to sign someone. I heard someone saying in their video, I think it was Mad Mike Sports. Shout out to my boy Mad Mike Sports. Definitely go check his page out. Lieutenant Dan and Unintentional Grounding, check his page out. Jazzy Jeff. They all are great YouTubers for the Atlanta Falcons as well. Definitely go check their pages out. But it was Mad Mike Sports, I believe, that I heard this from, where he was talking about the whole issue with Kamal Ishmael and Devondre Campbell. And I've been saying it in my videos as well. It's time for us to stop being loyal to certain players and just put the best players out there so this team can win. Devondre Campbell has looked bad in coverage. I don't mind him playing on first and second downs and where they're possibly running the ball, because he's a bigger linebacker. He's bigger than Deion Jones. He can come downhill and he's can be a thumper. But I prefer Jermaine Grace and Foye Aluakon in coverage, because they're faster, they're more rangy. And a lot of these cases where in this game it was a crucial third down, and this was at the end of the game, where they threw the ball directly to David Johnson. He was matched up one-on-one with Devondre Campbell in coverage, and he basically cooked Devondre Campbell. So I've seen enough Devondre Campbell in coverage this season. And he shown that he's not good in coverage at all. He doesn't have the lateral quickness. He doesn't get his head around. And on that play against David Johnson, he basically just tried to stand in front of him and basically face guard. He didn't turn around and look for the ball at all. He just was running. He was a step slow. He's getting beat pretty much by any running back, any tight end. They're really exposing Devondre Campbell. The same with Kamal Ishmael. But Kamal Ishmael, the difference between him and Devondre Campbell is he plays with a little bit better leverage. And I haven't seen Kamal Ishmael miss a lot of tackles. Kamal Ishmael is an excellent tackler. So if it's up to me, this is where I was going, I forgot to say, I know I'm jumping all over the place. In Mad Mike's, one of his videos last week, he talked about bringing in Dayon Buchanan from the Cardinals. They used to play with the Cardinals, who is a safety/linebacker. I would like us to bring in somebody to replace Kamal Ishmael, if we can, from the free agency. Either Eric Berry or Dayon Buchanan, because Dayon Buchanan, if you remember, he wore number 20 for the Cardinals for the last couple, I believe he played for them for 3 to 4 years. He was playing linebacker. He's a smallish linebacker, but he's built like Keanu Neal. He's very physical. He's aggressive. He comes downhill and he makes hard hitting tackles. He's an enforcer. If you come across the middle, he lays the wood on people. And I think he would be welcome here in Atlanta. And we really need him, someone to fill the shoes of Keanu Neal. Because one thing that I'm seeing with Kamal Ishmael, and I said this when they said they were giving the job to Kamal Ishmael instead of signing the two guys that we brung in when we worked out George Iloka and McDonald from the Rams. When we had run those corners in about 2 to 3 weeks ago when Keanu Neal had got injured. I said that I wanted us to sign one of those guys because Kamal Ishmael is slow. He's not fast. He's not rangy. He's not the best athlete. He's a smart player, and he's been in the system, the Falcons system for a long time, so he knows the playbook. He's a veteran, and he's solid. But we need someone like, it's night and day between him and Keanu Neal, and that's the problem. So it's time for us to make some adjustments. It's time for us to sign someone. I don't care if we go sign George Iloka, because I like George Iloka as well. We need to sign George Iloka. We need to sign Eric Berry, or we need to sign Deion Buchanan. We need to bring someone in that can play the role that Kamal Ishmael is playing, and also take some snaps from Devondre Campbell. And then, like I said before, it's time for Dan Quinn to give this starting role at corner on the other side to Kendall Sheffield, because Kendall Sheffield can really fly. He's very fast. He kind of puts me in the mind of Robert Alford a little bit. And I'm not talking about penalties. I'm talking about because he's an athlete. Robert Alford was very fast. If you go look at Robert Alford's 40 time, he's one of the fastest corners in the game. The same thing with Kendall Sheffield. Kendall Sheffield out of the Ohio State University, he's a very fast athlete. He was doing kickoff returns for that reason, because he's very quick. And one thing you notice about Kendall Sheffield, when that ball is coming, he turns his head, he looks for the ball when the ball is being thrown. He does an excellent job. He's not afraid. He doesn't hold a lot. When the ball is in the air, he doesn't freak out. He runs step for step, even if he is getting burnt, or a receiver or running back gets a step on him. He's fast enough to recover. The thing that I'm noticing about Isaiah Oliver is if somebody gets a step on him, he's done. He's burnt. He has no catch-up speed. He's just a long athlete. So like, he can possibly bat the ball down because he's so long, he might be able to catch up. But with Kendall Sheffield, even if somebody gets a step on him, he can catch up to him. He has that catch-up speed or that comeback speed because he's a very fast athlete. So to me, in this last game, he pretty much was locking down everybody that he was guarding. Kendall Sheffield was all over the field flying around. Pretty much every time that they try to throw the deep ball on his side, he was had the receiver pinned to the sidelines, which is textbook, and he was looking for the ball. He turned his head. Now, Isaiah Oliver, I want to give him some respect. He did play better in this game. He is looking like he's improving. But I believe that Kendall Sheffield is a little bit further along right now when it comes to playing the DB position. I feel like Kendall Sheffield playing at the Ohio State University is just a better cornerback right now than Isaiah Oliver. Of course, we're going to still have to play Isaiah Oliver, whether it's in a nickel or whether it's in maybe a dime package. If we add a dime package, which I wouldn't mind seeing more DBs out there on the field. But he has to prove himself, man, because I feel like we just handed, like I told y'all in my previous video, we basically just handed Isaiah Oliver this starting role, and he didn't earn it. We cut Robert Alford, who was a proven corner in this game, a proven commodity, and we just went ahead and said, okay, Isaiah Oliver, he played like 2 games last year. Okay, we're just going to hand him the position because we drafted him to eventually take Robert Alford's spot. But he never played at Robert Alford's spot. He never proved that he was a better player than Robert Alford. He never proved anything. Basically, Dan Quinn just assumed, okay, this is guy, next man up. We're going to cut Robert Alford. We're going to go ahead and just hand this job to Isaiah Oliver. Now, so in this next game, the changes I want to see Dan Quinn make, more blitzes, because I didn't see enough blitzing in this game. Like he said, I want to see more aggressive blitzing. I want to see Kendall Sheffield in the starting lineup taking Isaiah Oliver's spot, unless Desmond Trufant is still out in this game against the Rams. I want to see Devondre Campbell gets some of his snaps taken by Jermaine Grace and by Foye Oluokun, and I want to see us sign somebody, one of those safeties that's still out there, either George Iloka, Eric Berry, like I talked about before. One of these guys, man, or McDonald. One of these guys needs to come in and try to play the role, or Dayon Buchanan. One of these guys need to be brought in, man, at least for a trial this week, because our defense is getting exposed, and the defense is looking really bad. But as much as I want to put all of the blame on Dan Quinn, which it is pretty much Dan Quinn's fault, because if you think about this, the scheme that he's running, the scheme is not working. That soft zone, we need to can that all together. No more soft zone whatsoever. If I was Dan Quinn, I would cut that out altogether. It would be no soft zone. We can play maybe some cover 3 and things of that nature here and there, but we need to play straight man-to-man coverage, because we're not getting any pressure on these quarterbacks. This is the 3rd straight week with 0 sacks, and that's unacceptable. It's time to get after these quarterbacks. Even if you got to bring a safety blitz, I don't care what you have to do. At this point, we need to start getting some sacks. The only person that I'm seeing actually get pressure consistently is Grady Jarrett. So Grady Jarrett is earning his new paycheck. I like what I saw out of Deion Jones in this game. He had a crucial tackle on a 3rd down where he came in, filled a hole, and stuck David Johnson in the backfield. It was like 3rd and 2. They tried to do a little read option run, and he stuck him in the backfield, and he stopped them. I mean, he stopped, like, stonewalled them in the backfield. So Deion Jones is not the problem on this defense. He's the only one in the linebacking core really that's playing solid. Devondre Campbell is struggling. So it's time to stop being loyal to these guys. Another thing in this game that I want to talk about, the referees. The refs in this game were terrible. The refs were terrible in this game. And this has been all year for the Atlanta Falcons. I don't know what it is with these refs, but excuse my French, but these refs are screwing the Atlanta Falcons, man. Excuse my French if kids are watching this, but we've been getting screwed. We're getting screwed out of a lot of these big calls. The first touchdown of the game, when Isaiah Oliver actually tracked down the actual guy that caught the ball, the receiver that caught the ball deep, and he tackled him at the 1-yard line, and the ball, he tackled the guy fell on top of him, and the ball came out. And clearly, DeMonte Casey recovered the ball in the end zone. We challenged I think it was either challenged by Dan Quinn. I believe it was challenged by Dan Quinn, or they reviewed it. One of the two, I can't remember. But it was no way in hell that was not a fumble. The guy was on top of Isaiah Oliver. The ball clearly came out, and DeMonte Casey, which was the only clearly picked up the ball. Like, it was clear. It was no other Arizona Cardinal around the ball. He clearly had a clear fumble recovery, and it was clearly a fumble. Like, so these refs, that was just one play in the game that was crucial, because that could have possibly would have took a touchdown off the board, because it would have been our ball on a 20 or a 25, because it would have been a touchback. But it was clearly a fumble. So we got screwed on that play. Clear. And they went back and reviewed it. So whoever's doing these reviews in New York or wherever they are, they're screwing the Falcons, man, on these plays. Another play in this game that was crucial. It was a bunch of different calls. At the end of the game, when they said that Kyler Murray scrambled out for that 3rd down and got it, he did not get that 1st down. If you look at Kyler Murray, if you go back and look at that play, if you recorded the game, or if you can go back and look at that, basically what Kyler Murray did when he rolled out, he stepped out of bounds. So yeah, he stretched the ball over the 1st down marker, but he was out of bounds already. You can't go out of bounds and then stretch the ball. You have to still be in the field of play to actually stretch the ball over the marker. If you watch his foot, his right foot touched out of bounds, and then he hopped over the 1st down marker and stretched the ball. But he clearly stepped out short. You can see it on every single replay. When they slowed it down, he did not have a 1st down. It should have been 4th and inches. Easy. It was an easy call. That was an easy call. It was not one of those where it's undisputable evidence situation. The evidence showed, if you go back and watch that play, that he did not have a 1st down. So it's like anytime it's a 50-50 call for the Atlanta Falcons, we're getting screwed. So I don't want to hear nothing out of these other fans that want to try to troll the Atlanta Falcons, like the Saints and things of that nature. Because one thing I can say about the Falcon fans and the Falcons team, anytime we get screwed by the refs, we always suck it up and just eat it. We accept the loss. Like, well, it was other plays that we could have, or other things that we could have done better. they asked Dan Quinn about the one play in his press conference about the fumble. I mean, not the fumble, but the punt interference. If you go back and watch that play, Rashard Neesman was no close to touching that guy. Sherrod Neesman was nowhere near. Number 41 for the Atlanta Falcons, which is one of our backup safeties. When they punted that ball clearly hit the player in the foot of the opposing team, the Arizona Cardinals. That's the only reason that wide receiver started to throw his hands up like he didn't know what happened on that punt return. The only reason he threw his hands up is because he knew that ball hit him, hit his toe, and the Atlanta Falcons recovered that ball as well. I believe it was Jermaine Grace that recovered that ball. So that was another play that they screwed us out of, because really that should have been our ball in our red zone, because that ball clearly hit him. Rashard Neesman pulled up in plenty enough time. The guy called fair catch. Rashard Neesman was nowhere close to, because think about this. If Rashard Neesman was really in his way where he couldn't catch the ball and he was right there in his face within a yard or so, how come the ball didn't hit Rashard Neesman? Answer that question, NFL. Answer that question, refs. If he was that close and blinding the guy where he could not see the ball, he didn't have room enough to catch the ball. How did the ball hit the player in the foot, hit the player in the toe, and not touch Rashard Neesman at all? Because Rashard Neesman, if you go back and watch it, Rashard Neesman backed up when he seen the guy coming up to try to make the catch. He was at least 2 to 3 yards off of the guy, where the guy could have clearly caught the ball. What happened is the guy misjudged the ball, and when he waved his hands and ran up to make the catch, he realized, he got nervous, like, oh man, I might not be able to make this catch, because the ball came up a little bit shorter than he thought, and that's how the ball hit him in the foot. So that's the reason he didn't catch it, because he misjudged that ball in the air. It had nothing to do with none of those Atlanta Falcons defenders. None of them touched him at all. None of them guys was face guarding. None of them guys were close enough to him to prevent him from catching the ball. He decided not to catch the ball. So clearly that was a terrible call, because these plays that I'm talking about would have turned the game around, because those are 2 possessions that they gave the Cardinals, and on that particular possession, that was when they took the lead, and they gave them a 15-yard penalty on top, so it ended up turning out to be like a 23-yard penalty on the Falcons, which was some BS, because they clearly didn't touch the guy at all. And this is not the first game that they screwed us like this, because if you think about I believe it was the last game that we played against the Texans or the Colts. It was one of those games. I can't remember which one it was now, because all of them starting to match together. But if y'all remember the one game where we were playing and we were down by a possession, I believe it was against the Colts. We were down. It was either the Colts or the Texans. I can't remember, but we were down 1 possession basically. They had the ball. We kicked the ball off because we just had scored a touchdown. The ball looked like it was about to go out of bounds, but the guy decided to go ahead and field the ball. He caught it with 1 foot in bounds, and he ran out of bounds at like the 10-yard line. And they end up calling it that our player kicked it out of bounds, saying that the receiver didn't have 2 feet in bounds, which makes no sense. It was a kickoff return. So you don't give them the ball at the 40-yard line. The only time on a kickoff return that they should get the ball on the 40-yard line is if we kick the ball out and the guy who's returning it doesn't touch the ball. If he touches the ball in the field of play, I don't care if he has 2 feet in, 1 foot in. If he touches the ball and the ball hasn't went out of bounds yet, that ball is a live ball. Meaning, if we recover it, it's our ball. And if he touches it, it's a live ball. So wherever that ball falls out of bounds after that point of him touching it, that's where he gets it. It's not a penalty on us kicking the ball off. So that was another time where they screwed us. So these refs have been screwing us the whole season. Excuse my French, but it's the truth. Like, if you look at these games, these refs are making terrible calls, and a lot of egregious calls. Now, on the one where Vic Beasley got called for I seen on another, I think it was Matt Mike as well, I was talking about this, where they talked about the horse collar against Vic Beasley. I agree with the horse collar call. And the reason I agree with that one is because they changed the rule for horse collaring. And that was a horse collar, because he grabbed Kyler Murray around the nameplate, on the back of his nameplate. You can't do that, because too many players have gotten injured like that. Because y'all remember the Cowboys, Roy Williams, who was one of their, I believe he was a strong safety or free safety. That's how he hurt T.O. by dragging guys. He used to horse collar tackle people all the time, and that's how he ended up hurting T.O. I think T.O. hurt his knee or something like that, because he pulled him down like a horse collar tackle. And he used to horse collar tackle people all the time, and that's the reason they changed the rule. So nowadays, you don't actually have to grab around like the back of the neck for them to call it a horse collar, meaning like you have to grab and pull them down. If you grab the back of the nameplate and pull somebody down, they still consider that a horse collar tackle because they were seeing too many injuries with guys being tackled that way. So that actual call was a good call. But those other calls that I talked about, that fumble recovery was a terrible call. That was a fumble. That was not no he was down. He was not down. He was on top of Isaiah Oliver. Isaiah Oliver pulled him down. He rolled over the top of him and he dropped the ball. That was a fumble. And we recovered it. So it should have been our ball. So that was the first touchdown that they scored. That other play that I'm talking about, when the ball, when they said that our guys on a punt return actually did interfere with the guy trying to receive the ball, we didn't interfere in that play whatsoever. I went back and watched it, and they slowed it down. So what's killing me is this: what's the point of having those guys in New York? What's the point of having all these other people, Mike Pereira and all these guys, clicking in saying how they feel and what the call should be? To me, Mike Pereira and all these guys that were former referees should be making these calls, because I don't know who is in New York, but whoever's in New York is terrible, because all of these calls, if you slow these plays down, even Stevie Wonder can see that these are bad calls. These calls are terrible, and they're costing teams games. As much as y'all don't want to believe, okay, maybe he's crying just like the Saints, and he's crying about this and crying about that. No, these are changing games. These plays are game changing. They're turning these games around. These games are being turned around, and for whatever reason, these refs have no regard for these for our Atlanta Falcons. It seems like every time it comes down to a crucial call that needs to be made in our favor, they decide to screw us over. I don't know what it is, and I can go back to years. This has been happening for years. Not this season. I can go back to the season we made the Super Bowl when we were in Seattle, and Matt Ryan went to make a deep pass on 4th down, and Richard Sherman and all of those guys in the Legion of Boom was all over Julio Jones. It was a clear pass interference, and we were up and playing in Seattle, and I felt like it was home cooking, where the refs were just like, no, we don't want to cause the Seahawks to lose this game, and the Seahawks end up winning that game. But it was a crucial 4th down conversion where Matt Ryan heaved it up to Julio Jones on a deep pattern, and it was clear pass interference by Richard Sherman, and I believe it was Earl Thomas. It was two guys that was draped all over Julio Jones. And it was clear pass interference, and they did not make a game, and it was a game-changing call, and they did not make the right call. So these refs need to get it together. I hate putting the game in the refs' hands, and this is what I say, the Falcons, we don't need to let these games be close, but at the end of the day, these refs are getting paid just like these players are getting paid, and they need to start being held accountable. I don't care if you take their game check or if you fine them, just like you want to fine players for hits and stuff. These guys that are missing these calls need to start being fined or suspended for a game, because it's getting ridiculous, man. It's getting really ridiculous when you got instant replay, and I blame a lot of this stuff on the New Orleans Saints for all of the crying that they did last year after they lost to the Rams, when they clearly had a chance after that bad call against the Rams in overtime. They got the ball first. They threw an interception. So it was no excuse for them to be moaning and complaining about, oh, that was a pass interference. They took the game from us. No, they did not take the game from you, because you had a chance to try to redeem yourself after the fact. The Falcons, on a lot of these games, on these calls that they're making, we don't have no chance after that to try to recover. It's like they're making game-changing calls against us, and that's what's ticking me off. So these refs really need to get it together, and the league office needs to start punishing these refs for making bad calls, because I should know the rule book better than a referee that's being paid to know the rule book. And these umpires, it be looking like on a lot of these plays, me as a fan watching the game, how I know the rules better than you know the rules. That don't make sense. So these zebras and these refs need to get it together. That's all I got to say about the refs. I'm done with my rant. I'm off my soapbox now about the refs. But the refs need to get it together, because they're costing teams games. Point blank, period. And then another thing in this game that I want to talk about, and this was a positive in the game, was our offense. Our offense looked good. Our offense looked great in this game. All those people that's talking about Matt Ryan, let me tell y'all how good Matt Ryan was yesterday. 30 of 36, over 300 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions. And Matt Ryan in this game, some of the plays he was under duress doing this. So all of these hypocrites and all of these so-called Atlanta Falcons fans or people that call themselves fans are saying fire Matt Ryan, cut this guy, cut that guy. Matt Ryan is the best quarterback that the Atlanta Falcons have ever had, and I'm the number one Michael Vick fan. I love Michael Vick. I'm from Virginia. Like, I lived in Virginia my whole life pretty much. I'm from the Hampton Roads area where Michael Vick is from. So I don't want to even hear anything about Michael Vick is better than Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan is the best quarterback that we've ever had in this uniform, period. And that's because if you look at all that he's done since he's been for the Atlanta Falcons, Michael Vick could have possibly had a better career than Matt Ryan, but his career was cut short in Atlanta due to his own doing. So I'm not going by projections of what Mike Vick could have done. I'm talking about what he did when he was in Atlanta. Michael Vick never went to a Super Bowl. Michael Vick never won an MVP of the NFL. So when he was playing for the Atlanta Falcons. So Matt Ryan is one of the best quarterbacks to ever play this game. Matt Ryan is a Hall of Famer. I'm going to tell you right now, and you may disagree with me, but if you go look at Matt Ryan's numbers, Matt Ryan is a Hall of Famer. The only thing that's holding Matt Ryan back is this defense and coaching. That's it. If you see how many offensive coordinators Matt Ryan has had in his career, it's ridiculous. And that's the reason that I don't want to fire our head coach. Because what y'all are failing to realize is we don't have time to keep doing turnover. Matt Ryan only has a couple more years left. Julio Jones only has a couple more years left. We don't have time. They're on maybe on their last contract, depending on if they desire to play after this, if they want to play into their late 30s and 40s. But I don't know if Julio Jones is going to play after this contract. And he just signed like a 3 or 4 year deal. I don't know, because the way that Julio Jones is set up, then the money that he's already sustained, the wealth he already has, and the wealth that Matt Ryan has already had $200 million contracts, they might not desire to play after this 4 or 5 year contract is up. So we need to capitalize on these guys' prime. And we're wasting years of these guys' career. Matt Ryan last year was a total waste of his career. 35 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. A whole wasted season, 7-9, a wasted season. This year, right now, 15 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. And he's in the top 3 right now in passing yards for the season. So Matt Ryan is balling out. Right now, Matt Ryan is balling out. Julio Jones is balling out. The problem is this defense, man. This defense has to get it together. Now, like I said, one thing that I did like in this game, Matt Ryan, they started off a little bit slow, but once they got it rolling, they had it rolling. The Cardinals couldn't stop us once we got it rolling. They couldn't stop us. They couldn't stop Matt Ryan. We were going up and down the field on those guys. And these were long drives. It wasn't like we got an interception and we scored and we got it, on our side of the field, on our side of the 50. No, Matt Ryan was going 85 yards, 90 yards. One time we were within like our 10 within our own 10-yard line and went down and scored a touchdown. So Matt Ryan is not the problem on this team. So anybody that's saying Matt Ryan needs to be traded or anything, I'm gonna start to take you as a joke, like you don't know football, because I'm not gonna even have that argument with you. Because Matt Ryan is not the problem on this team. Matt Ryan is gonna be here long after Dan Quinn, long after many of these coaches. Matt Ryan is not going anywhere. Matt Ryan is going to get to decide when he wants to retire as a Falcon. And Matt Ryan is going to deserves every penny that he got in his last contract. So everybody that wants to look at these players and look at their contracts and base that off of their performance, go fine. But Matt Ryan is outperforming his contract. He's not playing. He's earning that contract that he has. So all those Matt Ryan haters need to chill out. All these people talking about Jake Fromm. How did Jake Fromm look on Saturday? They lost to South Carolina. All these people talk about Jake Fromm need to be the quarterback. Stop. Matt Ryan is a Hall of Fame quarterback. He possibly could have more MVPs than that one MVP that he has if he had a defense. And by now, Matt Ryan, if he had a quality defense, if he had a top 10 defense, Matt Ryan, I guarantee you, would have had a Super Bowl by now. Because Joe Flacco has a Super Bowl. And Joe Flacco is no comparison to Matt Ryan. They're in two different universes. So I don't know, you guys. I don't know about the season. 1-5. It's nothing left to be said, to be honest. We have to buckle down. I do believe that we can beat the Rams, and y'all might laugh at this video when you see it and say, "Man, there's no way." But like I've told y'all, I like to see I like to see the cup half empty. I mean, half full, not half empty. I always look at the glass half full, not half empty. But in this game, they showed us improvement in this game. The defense, when they made the adjustment and started playing more man, they slowed down that offense. And I hope Dan Quinn was paying attention to that and not just assuming or just trying something out and just assuming, okay, next game we're going to go back to soft zone. No, we need to start off in man coverage, because these guys proved that when they were in man coverage, they made those windows for those quarterbacks to throw through tighter. It made it tougher on Kyler Murray. And right now, Jared Goff is struggling with his accuracy. So in that case, we need to make these windows as tight as possible, because maybe we can force an error on Jared Goff's part. Maybe we can cause some confusion on Jared Goff. And there's one last thing I want to talk about in this video that I was encouraged about, and that's my boy Devontae Freeman. Free was doing this thing in this game. I told y'all, and I continue to tell y'all fans and Falcon fans, do not panic. Do not panic. I told y'all, a lot of people was asking, has Devontae Freeman lost it? No, Devontae Freeman has not lost it. I said it in my last video, or one of my last two videos, when I was talking about why the Atlanta Falcons are struggling. I talked about it. Devontae Freeman still has that burst. He still has that wiggle. If you see him in this game, he had 2 receiving touchdowns, and he rushed for another 88 yards on like 19 carries. He was balling out in this game. He did his thing. He was running hard. But what happened in this game that made Devontae Freeman look better than he's looked in these previous 4 or 5 games? What happened? I'm going to tell you what happened. They made some creases. They started to block for him. He had some creases and some holes to run through in this game. He was not being hit in the backfield on every single play. It was a couple plays in this game where he had negative yardage and he was hitting the backfield, and it was a guy in the backfield that he had to try to dance on or dance around before he got the handoff. But in this game, they made creases. And when you give Devontae Freeman just a little crack, his vision is so great that he's going to find the hole. So all of this, Ito Smith is better than Devontae Freeman, we can put that to bed. He's not better than Devontae Freeman. This is still Devontae Freeman's team. Devontae Freeman deserved that contract that he received. So we can stop with all this. Ito Smith, no. Ito Smith is not better than Devontae Freeman. I don't even care. He's not better than Devontae Freeman after his injuries. And Devontae Freeman has had some serious injuries. He had concussions, knee injury, and a groin injury the last like 2 to 3 years. He's been injured. He hasn't been healthy. But this Devontae Freeman that I seen yesterday, look, he showed flashes of his old self yesterday. He's not as quick as he used to be, as far as once he hit the hole, he's gone up through the seam and down in the secondary. Because he used to be one of those guys, once he hit the hole, he was going to hit his head on the goalpost. But right now, he still has that ability to hit his head on the goalpost, but he don't have that first step that he once had. But he still has that wiggle. He still has that power in that small, compact body, and he still can find holes. He still has that vision that he had. So all of this, we should have kept that. Tevin Coleman, stop. Tevin Coleman was soft. I'm going to tell y'all straight up. I like Tevin Coleman. Tevin Coleman was fast, very fast. But if you remember Tevin Coleman's rookie season, he had fumbleitis. He fumbled every time he got touched. And Tevin Coleman cannot run between the tackles. Tevin Coleman is a one cut back, meaning he can run, cut on the one step cut, and go straight up north and south. But he was more of a toss type of guy. You toss the ball out to him in space. You throw the ball out to him in space. And that's why him and Freeman played well off of each other, because they were 2 different type of running backs. They weren't the same type. I used to call them thunder and lightning, where Devontae Freeman was thunder and Tevin Coleman, Tico, was lightning, because he was fast, quick. He wanted to get to the outside. He was a perimeter running back. He didn't like to run between the tackles. He didn't like contact. Devontae Freeman loves contact. Sometimes a little too much, and that's why I feel like he was having those concussion issues, because he was literally trying to lay people out by throwing his head and trying to bulldozer people like a ram or a bull. He was literally trying to run people over with his head. He kept putting his head down. But now, this season, he showed yesterday that he still has that juice. Devontae Freeman is going to be just fine. He just needed a couple games, because when you've been out and been injured, you need a couple games to get it going. You need a couple games to knock the rust off. And it looks like we've got towards the mid. We're getting towards the middle of the season, towards that 8th game, middle-ish part of the season. And Devontae Freeman has showed y'all that he's knocked the dust off. He's knocked the rust off, and that this is his team. He's taking back over the running back room, saying, this is my team. Anybody that wants carries is going to fall in line behind me, because this is my team. And Devontae Freeman is one of my favorite players that's ever put on the Atlanta Falcons uniform. And the reason I love Devontae Freeman is because the heart that he plays with. He's not the biggest guy. He's not the strongest guy. But he runs like he's Marshawn Lynch. He runs so hard. And he's a smart player. He's one of the smartest players that has ever played for the Atlanta Falcons. And he gives it his all. When you talk to Devontae Freeman, it's always, I just love the game. I love ball. It's all, I just want to be out there with my guys. It's always the right thing. He always says the right thing. He's always the one out there patting his guys on the back. Because yesterday when they were making that comeback, him and Mohamed Sanu, they were over there hyped. They were over there dapping each other up, high-fiving. They were hyped, man. And Devontae Freeman brings that juice. If you watch him run the ball, when he jumps up and spins the ball and does all them little things, spikes the ball. Yesterday he scored a touchdown and handed it to one of the fans. He held the ball out when he was running. He caught the last pass he caught, which should have tied the game up. He caught the pass and held the ball out and ran in. Like, Devontae Freeman is like a little kid playing pee-wee. Like, he loves it. Like, it's almost like he would play football even if he had to play for free. And that's what I love about Devontae Freeman. So we can put all of that nonsense to bed about, can somebody take Devontae Freeman's spot? I don't even think that Devontae Freeman needs to be cut next year. This is Devontae Freeman's team, period. He owns the running back room right now. So I don't want to hear no more blasphemy about Ito Smith, about nobody. Quadre Olesen, Brian Hill, none of those guys are better than Devontae Freeman at this point in his career. He put that to bed yesterday. And another thing that I liked about Devontae Freeman getting off yesterday is you saw the balance. When you can run the ball and pass the ball, and I love the way that Dirk Cutter used those running backs in the passing game, because the passing game is the same thing as the running game. That's the way that you supplement it. If you cannot run the ball between the tackles, you cannot run the ball at all because it's you're being stonewalled or being stymied, that's when you need to use your running backs in the passing game. And I love that Dirk Cutter has made the adjustment. I love that he listened to me in my last video when I was telling you guys, you need to run the Wildcat and put Devontae Freeman back there with Mohamed Sanu. And they ran that play where Mohamed Sanu was in the Wildcat. He faked like he was going to pull the ball down. He handed it to Devontae Freeman on like a crucial third down. And Devontae Freeman ran right up the gut for a good 4 to 5 yards. But why was he able to do that? Because it's all about scheme. The way that they schemed it up. You have to account for Mohamed Sanu pulling the ball and running, or pulling the ball and throwing it. And when you have to account for another guy in the backfield that can actually run the ball or tote the ball, then you have the aggressiveness that you have to pause for that 1 second, because you don't know if Devontae Freeman has the ball or Mohamed Sanu has the ball. And if it's in a short yardage situation, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get that first down in a Wildcat formation, because you don't know who has the ball. So you can't go flying off the rails, flying to the ball, because you might fly to the ball and hit the wrong person that don't have the ball. So Dirk Cutter made some great adjustments in this game. So it ain't Dirk Cutter's fault that we lost this game, because Dirk Cutter did his thing in this game. It's not the offense's fault, because Matt Ryan damn near had a perfect passer rating yesterday. So all of this blasphemy against Matt Ryan, against Devontae Freeman, they put all of that to rest yesterday. They put all of those notions to bed, all those narratives. It's not time for Atlanta Falcons to go get another quarterback. We can put that narrative down, and it's not time to cut Devontae Freeman. We can put that narrative down. And another narrative that we can go ahead and put down, because I don't think it's happening, Falcons fans, is firing Dan Quinn before this season is over. I don't care what the media says, what the media does, unless Arthur Blank gets in his mind that they cannot turn this thing around and he wants to blow this thing up. That's the only way that Dan Quinn is not keeping his job, at least to the end of this season. And he might keep it again next year. depending on how the season pans out. But my whole point is I'm fine with Dan Quinn keeping his job because I feel like he needs to look adversity in the eye. We need to see how does this team fight back from a 1-5 start. The Colts made the playoffs last year starting off at 1-5. So it's not over yet. We haven't played a single division game yet in the NFC South. And we could possibly run the tables because I'm looking at the NFL right now, the NFC, the AFC, and I'm looking out and I don't see any juggernaut teams pretty much. The only juggernaut I see out there is the Patriots. That's it. The Chiefs are on a 2-game losing streak. It's so many teams that are supposed to be winning. The Cowboys are on a 3-game losing streak after starting off 3-0. I told y'all, this league is a wait-and-see league. It's a wait-and-see because it's a week-to-week league. Now the Cowboys see how the Falcons feel about being banged up last year because now they out. The right tackle was out yesterday. The left tackle was out yesterday. They were down, I think, a cornerback. So now they see how it feels, man. When injuries hit you, I'm telling you, and this is a week. That's why I said it's a week-to-week league. Every player is one hit from, or every team is one hit away from a quarterback getting injured for the season and tanking. Every team is one bad play or one player away from being a great team or a good team to being the middle of the pack team or a non-playoff team, a garbage team. So I would never call my Atlanta Falcons trash or garbage because I'm always going to respect this logo right here. I'm loyal to the logo, y'all. Period. I'm loyal to the logo. I've been a fan too long. I've seen too much football to throw in a towel and say this season is over. I feel like everybody in the Atlanta Falcons nation needs to chill. Chill out. Let it play out. Forget saying fire Dan Quinn. Let it play out. Let Dan Quinn finish out this season because whoever you throw in that role of head coach, you're doing them a disservice at this point. Because what good is that really going to do? Okay, we'll fire Dan Quinn and make Raheem Morris the head coach or Mike Mularkey the head coach. What is that going to do? Which brings me to the coaching staff. And I want to talk about this real quick and then I'll be done with this video. The coaching staff. How in the hell do we have all of these head coaches in this Falcons organization that Dan Quinn brought on and still continue to make dumb mistakes? We're repeating the same mistakes. The same mistakes every week. Dan Quinn not pressing up, not playing press coverage, playing soft zone, doing the same exact stuff, not blitzing, not putting no pressure on the quarterbacks, playing 9 and 10 yards off the ball as a DBs. Like, you must want to lose because we're not making the proper adjustments. And the reason I'm upset with the coaching staff is because if y'all are head coach quality, or if y'all were head coaches, you guys should know what we should be doing. You should be able to see, okay, Dan Quinn, and telling Dan Quinn, this is what you're doing wrong, or this is a way that we possibly can improve. Don't sit back on your thumbs and try to get Dan Quinn fired, or sit back on your thumbs and say, well, this is Dan Quinn's ship and we have to follow whatever he's doing. You do in some capacity, this is Dan Quinn's team. He is the head coach. And the players, and they usually say a team takes on the personality of their head coach. But one thing that is ticking me off about Dan Quinn is the confusion that I'm seeing on the field out of these players. Because one play on that Max Williams touchdown, when it was like a throwback to the tight end, everybody was like, Dan Quinn was subbing players in and out, in and out, in and out. Then once the ball was snapped or the ball was getting ready to be snapped, everybody was looking around, nobody lined up. Everybody's acting like they don't know what to do, where to go, like they haven't practiced these lineups. That falls on head coaching, man. So as much as y'all might feel that I defend Dan Quinn, I can't defend that. I can't defend these players not looking ready and prepared to play on this defensive side of the ball. And that's what I was seeing a lot of yesterday. We had too many times where Dan Quinn burnt all his timeouts in the first half, all 3 timeouts, because guys didn't know where to line up. Guys are not paying attention. Guys don't know what scheme are they running and what zone they supposed to be in. That's why I say you go ahead and simplify things and let these guys play as aggressive. You say see ball, get ball. You see somebody with the ball, go get it. Start blitzing these quarterbacks, man. Because if we decide to continue to sit back and let these quarterbacks dissect us, they're going to do just that. Because these quarterbacks, I said in my last video, they're too good. These offensive coordinators are too good to allow you to play one zone coverage or one scheme all game. We're being out schemed by a lot of these teams, and that's a problem. And that's why I feel like Dan Quinn doesn't deserve this job, or Dan Quinn might lose his job because he's being stupid as well, because he's not making the proper adjustments, or he's waiting till the team is down to make adjustments. Like I said, we made adjustments in the second half, but where were those in the first half when we actually needed some stops? Because we continue to put ourselves in holes. You're not going to be able to win many games like that when you put yourself in a hole, point blank in the period. So like I said, man, we're 1-5. I still believe in my Atlanta Falcons. I still believe that we have a chance at the playoffs, believe it or not. But the only road back to the playoffs is we're going to have to start taking it one game at a time. That's the only way we're getting back in this thing, because we've dug ourselves such a big hole that we definitely have to win these next 2 games at home against the Rams and Seahawks. Then we have our bye week. And then after that bye week, I believe we go jump right into NFC South opponents. So during that bye, it's time for us to get this stuff together. I don't want to see Dan Quinn get fired at all. Not on the bye, not at all. I want to see him make improvements. I want to see us win at the end of the day, because you play to win the game, as Herm Edwards once said. You play to win the game. So we need to go ahead, get it together. Like I said, this is your boy Jew. I'm still confident in our boys. The season's not over. It's 10 games left. Let's see if we can get a string of wins going, y'all. But like I said, if you like this channel, if you like this page, if you're new to the channel, please like, share, and subscribe. This is your boy Jew. If you want to donate, you always can hit me up on my Cash App. If you would like to donate, it'll be the $ Jew Talk Sports. If you would like to donate, I appreciate all my subscribers. I believe it's that I'm believing for 1,000 subscribers by the end of this NFL season. If not, I'm gonna keep striving for the best. But I would like to do some not Facebook, but YouTube live videos for you guys. So in order to do that, I'm gonna need you guys to go ahead and tell your friends, your family members, go ahead and subscribe to my page so I can start doing some live streams from my page here. But like I said, peace and love, y'all. I'm looking forward to this game coming up on Sunday against the Rams. And I hope we go ahead and get this victory so we can get this thing rolling again, y'all. But this is your boy Jew, and I'm out. Y'all enjoy y'all week. I have more content for y'all later on in the week for the Rams game. Like I said, Falcons, we rise up. The brotherhood. All right, we all one family. Let's cheer on our Falcons. All right. Peace.